Hey everyone, I'm back with the Commentary Companions. Before I begin, I just want to iterate that this version of Elektra that I'm doing a commentary for is a commentary for the theatrical cut, not the extended director's cut. But I'm sure you probably know that. But anyway, Elektra theatrical cut is currently available to stream over here. But yeah, you can watch Elektra on the streaming platforms or watch it on DVD if you got a DVD of it. But anyway, enjoy the show. Welcome to Commentary Companions. I'm your host, Tony Garcia, and today we're looking at Elektra, released in 2005, 20 years ago, which is a sentence I never imagined I'd be saying. Now, Elektra is quite significant as it's the first spin-off of the Daredevil franchise under Fox's leadership. And also, Elektra is notable for being the very first Marvel movie in which it's led by a female character. Even though Elektra isn't really a superhero. He's not really a traditional superhero. I bet you didn't know that. Also, I think it's pretty cool that the Marvel logo actually features comics of Elektra. Now, I'm sure probably some of you are thinking, well, if Elektra died at the end of Daredevil, how come she lived to be in a sequel? Well, the sequel to Elektra pretty much manages to explain away how that happened. It's a kind of magic. And of course, there's Terrence Stamp voicing Stick. And, it's funny. It's like, I'm familiar with Terrence Stamp not because of his Shakespearean roles or because of his performance as General Zod in the Superman movies, but because of his performance as Siegfried in the Get Smart movie. You would think I would recognize him after he was in Star Wars The Phantom Menace, but, that's me. Typical of me to not recognize Terrence Stamp. Whoops. Oh my. In the end, it doesn't even matter. Now, what I think is interesting is that in 1992, director Oliver Stone announced that he was developing an electric film titled Elektra Assassin, based on the comic book miniseries of the same name, written by Frank Miller and illustrated by Bill Sienkiewicz. However, the plot would have involved Elektra fighting the Hand rather than being hunted by S.H.I.E.L.D., because the film rights to S.H.I.E.L.D. were tied up in another deal, probably with Marvel. The project was canceled when the film rights to Elektra and other Daredevil-related characters were sold to 20th Century Fox. Volleyball star Gabrielle Reese was Stone's first choice to play Elektra, and MMA kickboxer Kathy Lang was also considered for the role after having a small part in Oliver Stone's Natural Born Killers. The Hand made their first appearance in Daredevil number 174, And they pretty much also inspired the Foot Clan in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I didn't realize that the Foot Clan was a parody of the Hand until, they said it as a fact. Bravo, your angel of death awaits you. Quite a comforting angel of death. She must have been patiently waiting for him to empty his gun. That's one way to say it, although is Elektra technically a zombie? Honestly, I love how the Elektra silhouette still shines red, just like in her costume. I think he was lucky. Now, Jennifer Garner filmed this movie while on summer hiatus on her television series Alias. And although the comic strip, although Elektra usually wears a pair of large gold hoop earrings as part of her costume, Garner did not wear them in the movie. A pair of earrings were provided as part of Jennifer's costume, but she was unable to wear them as they were for pierced ears, and she did not at the time have her ears pierced. Of course, if there's one thing that bothers me about this film, it's the lack of blood. Apparently, director Rob Bauman wanted to have it be an R-rated movie, but he was contractually obligated to keep it to a PG-13. In fact, due to the low-level response from the previous film Daredevil, promotion for this movie claimed ties to the movie X-Men instead, which had a much higher popularity response. The first promotional mention of ties to the Daredevil movie only took place 1 week before the Elektra movie was to be released. I did not realize the guy playing Roshi was Shang Tsung in the original Mortal Kombat movie, originating the line, "Your soul is mine." But yeah, I recognize him now. Scrub-a-dub-dub. Now, Rob Bauman was before he directed movies, he was best known for directing a lot of TV episodes. He directed for TV shows such as 21 Jump Street, Star Trek: The Next Generation, one episode of MacGyver, one episode of Baywatch, and two episodes of Dark Shadows, one episode of Quantum Leap, and 3 33 episodes of The X-Files, which would probably explain why he got the job directing the X-Files movie, which was his second feature film after directing Airborne. After he directed the X-Files, Rob Bauman also directed Reign of Fire, but after that, Elektra was the last theatrical film that Rob Bauman ever worked on, because he would go back to just doing TV movies. Now you know. Now, Jennifer Garner was insistent on wearing red in this film as a compromise that in Daredevil she didn't wear red. I mean, gotta give her credit because, in my opinion, I think that her red suit in this film, even if it's only briefly seen in at the beginning of the film and the end of the film, that suit is a massive improvement over her suit in Daredevil. I'm going to admit, Elektra's suit in the Daredevil movie was so bland and generic, and it really didn't help with the character's comic book inaccuracy, especially since in the comics, Elektra is black-haired and Greek with green eyes, and of course, Jennifer Garner had to wear green contacts to match with the comic book accuracy, but her suit in Daredevil was so generic-looking. I couldn't even tell you. If you told me that was supposed to be Elektra, I'd be like, who? Yeah. But the red suit in this film is much, much better. It's definitely an improvement. And I like how Elektra's suit in Deadpool and Wolverine is a combination of her suit from both Daredevil and Elektra. It's pretty much the best of both worlds, and I think it works perfectly. And I like that it managed to help accommodate for Jennifer Garner, especially the boots, according to her. Now, Elektra's main costume designer was Lisa Tomshishin. Lisa is no stranger to Marvel, having been an associate costume designer for the first Daredevil movie and the first Spider-Man movie. Other movies that Tomshishin has done costume designs for are Practical Magic, Monkey Bone, Seabiscuit, The Punisher, X-Men The Last Stand, Tropic Thunder, The Last Airbender, I Am Number 4, The Hunger Games, its sequels Mockingjay 1 and 2, Captain America Civil War, Avengers Infinity War, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Avengers Endgame, and The Sewer Slide Squad 2. Pardon me for saying sewer slide. I really don't want to be demonetized. Now, Stick, who is Elektra's mentor in this movie, Stick made his comic book debut in Daredevil number 176 in 1981, created by Frank Miller. In the comics, Stick trained Matt Murdock and Elektra. It was Stick who helped Matt with his enhanced senses. Of course, in the comics, Stick expelled Elektra and forbade her from training due to her vengeful personality. What I don't like is that, in the comics, Stick is supposed to be Matt's mentor, but what I find peevish is that they omit the fact that with Matt Murdock, they just omit Stick being Matt's mentor, which really does kind of grind my gears a little. I mean, what's up with that? I mean, I get that you have to take creative liberties, but too many creative liberties were made for this film. Sounds like Jennifer Garner, when filming this, she actually filmed Elektra while on hiatus for her other show, Alias, which was where she was really popular. Garner reportedly told a journalist that she felt this film was terrible and that she only filmed it because of contractual obligations from Daredevil. Because when she signed a contract with Fox to play the role of Elektra, she was contractually obligated, and so, yeah, she was legally forced to star in Elektra, like it or not. Ben Affleck actually did film a scene reprising his role as Daredevil in a dream sequence. Unfortunately, his cameo appearance got split. I kind of wish that they did keep the scene featuring Matt Murdock, as it would have, at least adjusted the film's existence, and everyone would then know, oh yeah, this is a sequel and follow-up to Daredevil. Cannonball! Okay, technically she's diving. And now I'm thinking of a joke that CinemaSins made. Gosh darn it, CinemaSins. How'd she get here? Holy flashbacks, Batman. And of course, yep, the guy playing Elektra's father looks absolutely nothing like the previous actor from Daredevil, who I know was in The Mummy. In an interview for the film during post-production, Jennifer Garner said, "When did I become action girl?" But what you might find interesting is that production filming was only 62 days. Oof. That could have been gruesome. Now, Rob Bauman was impressed by Jennifer Garner's action scenes that she rarely used a stunt double. What I find interesting is that Galen Gorg was personally offered the role of Elektra by Frank Miller on the set of RoboCop 2. According to Gorg, the project never materialized beyond Miller's own word of mouth. Now, the boathouse used in the film would later be used in 50 Shades of Grey. I did not know that. That's kind of like finding out that the household of Ben Parker and May Parker that Peter Parker used to live in is also the exterior house used for Terry Jeffords' house on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which I eventually found out. The N in the gates of Elektra's mansion stands for nachos, obviously. And Rob Bauman was inspired by Tim Burton's Batman and Sam Raimi's Spider-Man because they were character studies in superhero movies. Well, Kingpin sent me. Because I believe it was Kingpin that ordered the hit on Elektra's mom. I can't remember. I'd have to rewatch Daredevil, the movie. I'm also thinking of renting the director's cut to Daredevil, because I hear that one's an improvement over the theatrical cut. Well, at least Elektra doesn't chew her pain medication. What I also like is that the director wanted thick, very rich colors for Elektra's outfit to make it stand out in the darkness. And for the few scenes that the suit is in, he succeeded in that endeavor. The filmmakers were on a tight schedule and had 30 setups a day. That's me pretending to meditate. And here we have Mr. Goran Vizhnig, who is best known for being on ER, but of course I know him best for playing Nikola Tesla on Doctor Who, and for playing Roland Voight in the Hellraiser remake. And fun fact, Goran Vizhnig is also voiced Optimus Prime in the Croatian dub to Transformers 1. I didn't know he was Croatian until I saw Hellraiser. He's like, yep, that sounds about right. The filmmaker showed Jennifer Garner Goran Vizhnig's audition, and she was blown away by his audition. And Garner trained for using a bow stick for a couple months. What I also find interesting is that Jennifer Garner missed having Ben Affleck around because he was a huge Daredevil fan that he schooled her, and she made sure the rest of the cast knew their comic book origins. That's pretty considerate. And while Garner may have been obligated / forced to be in Elektra, at least she kept an upbeat attitude when working on the film. So props to Jennifer Garner for staying positive and for being so upbeat. Most other people probably wouldn't, in her position, probably wouldn't be as upbeat. Kind of like Mike Myers. Now, Rob Bauman wished the opening sequence was longer because Elektra isn't as well known, which makes sense. Producer Avi Arad met Rob Bauman 3 years before the film came out, and they talked about Marvel projects, and Bauman was interested in Elektra. They sat together in a room with an Elektra poster on the wall. During filming, Rob Bauman stayed in the same Vancouver hotel he stayed in during the filming of The X-Files. Apparently, this is Rob Bauman's favorite film he's ever made. For casting Abby, the filmmakers searched for girl actresses all over North America who not only looked the part, but most importantly, could engage. Bauman thought the film would be well received for its emotional values. He was wrong. Bauman decided to shoot the film in an anamorphic instead of Super 35 per Tommy Imperato's request because Rob believes anamorphic is the way films are shot. Bauman asked Jennifer Garner at times to be a bit emotionally removed for Elektra's performance. Yeah. Now, Jennifer Garner immediately went back to production of Alias after filming Elektra. You know, you got to fulfill that TV contract. The prologue had been rewritten multiple times. It was a scroll at one point and was originally fully animated. Of course, due to simultaneously working on Alias and being contractually forced to star in that she was contractually obligated to star in Elektra, she didn't have a lot of time to prepare for reprising her role as Elektra. I mean, 2 years to prepare, imagine that. Now, Goran Vizhnuk worked out with stunt guys on boxing for the first couple of weeks because they didn't know exactly the amount of fighting. Now, Rob Bauman and Kevin Stitt worked a lot getting the film into shape for the director's cut, which was considered hard. And like a lot of films, usually there are multiple writers for some superhero films, and Elektra was no exception. There were 3 writers on Elektra: Stuart Zickerman and M. Raven Metzner. After Metzner and Zickerman worked on 2 scripts, Zach Penn took over screenwriting duties following completion of the Zickerman and Metzner drafts, clearly combining efforts from both writers, which is kind of what some writers will do sometimes. Now, Tom Rothman gave notes to Rob Bauman saying Rothman likes that the director's cut is minimalist, aesthetic, mythical, and emotional. Ugh, cell phones. What a rude interruption. Jennifer Garner insisted that she used her own hands for all her inserts because she wanted to make sure those were her own hands. In fact, Rob Bauman monitored Jennifer Garner's energy expenditure throughout filming. Principal photography began on May 3rd, 2004. With only 60 days of filming, I guess it was by July 3rd that filming ended. Now, Rob Bauman met Jennifer Garner during her lunchtime at Disneyland. Now, Craig Berkeley spent weeks at a time creating sound effects. The sound effects he applied to in the film were the film with the completed film score instead of the temp score from other movies. The sound effects workers built the sound effects bit by bit in a linear fashion. And the film initially didn't have digital intermediate. The studio didn't want it at first due to the cost, but they decided to give the filmmakers permission. Apparently, Rob Bauman encouraged Kirsten to improvise during the scene where she scared Jennifer Garner. Rob Bauman was sent the script from Fox 2 or 3 times and knew it had got a quick rewrite from Zach Penn. In the first couple of reads, he didn't get the script. He believes Zach had an economical script. And you might find this funny. Bauman briefly lost his voice for about 6 weeks during filming from a bronchial infection because Mark's house was inside a soundstage with rain and trees and was left closed and unventilated over a 3-day weekend. And I think you might find this cool, and this actually makes sense. The theatrical release of the film came with a teaser trailer for Tim Story's Fantastic Four, another Fox Marvel movie that I will eventually talk about. Fantastic Four fans only bought tickets to see the teaser. That might explain the box office results. When the ninjas disappear, it's an in-camera effect that was made by the director. Rob Bauman hired Kevin Stitt for editing the film after enjoying an hour of lunch with him. If this was rated R, well, that impalement would have been way bloodier. And there wouldn't be this whole blasting to dust bullshit. Well, even I find that to be pretty stupid. Now, the filmmakers did a few versions of Elektra walking out of the house where she had different reactions. The one the filmmakers eventually used was the first take, which was where she was very conflicted. My Elektra senses are tingling. Okay, I think I understand why those weapons were digitally used, because, like, you really want those things harming the actors. Now, during the course of working on the script, Rob Bauman didn't want all of the flashbacks to just be bad news. Once the filmmakers had the film laid out editorially, Rob had given himself a few different places that he could cut that in, but he decided on some positive flashbacks. One of the reasons for the well flashback was to give the father a chance to redeem himself and that he rewards his daughter by giving her a wishing well for working so hard. The other reason was to introduce the red ribbon. Rob Bauman told Graham Murray that he wants a well with a little day hedge set and a red ribbon around it. Graham took Rob's idea and decided that the red ribbon would be made out of Elektra's assassin fabric. The well scene was the last day of filming. I wonder what would happen if you breathed in that dust. That's a very cartoonish ninja star. Now, if I recall, the Hand's headquarters were actually filmed in an office in San Diego. Fun fact: the actress that's playing Typhoid actually auditioned for the role of Elektra before Jennifer Garner got the role. Roshi has this "I'm not mad, I'm disappointed" look. Oh, a gaijin. Well, that's actually a pretty racist term in Japanese. I think I have to look that word up. Womp womp. Well, that's not nice. Yep, while all forms of the word foreigner or outsider in practice, gaijin or gaikokujin are commonly used to refer to foreigners of non-East Asian ethnicities. So yeah, gaijin means foreigner, and it's definitely used as an insult. Typhoid's like, "What you looking at, bitch?" Yeah, that's what you get for looking at Typhoid the wrong way. Typhoid don't like it when you look at her funny. Yeah, she is not enthusiastic. I think there are only two or three of the pool balls that are digital. Now, the pinball machines seen in the bar scene are Alien Poker that was released in 1980, and Striker Extreme from 2000. Apparently, the MPAA thought that the gun hanging from DeMarco's sword was too early in the movie for something intense. It sparked a last-minute insert shoot. In the opening scene, there would have been a part where Elektra was picked up from an ambulance and Stick reviving her. Now, Rob Bauman and Jennifer Garner enjoyed collaborating with Terrence Stamp a lot. When they weren't filming, Terrence Stamp would share stories of all the work he had done with Jennifer Garner. So Garner really enjoyed collaborating with Terrence Stamp. Whoop. Yep, don't lie to Elektra. She don't like that. Ooh, pinned you. Pinned you again. You know, if I can imagine if this was rated R, she'd be all like, "If you." The biggest challenge for the visual effects artists about the hawk was to recreate a feather coating that is very particular to a bird. They used fur mainly on the head and legs, and everything else is geometry. The character Tattoo from the movie is a loose adaptation of a similar character in the comics. Tattoo in the comics is a woman known as Christine Cord who also goes by the name of Longstrike. Tattoo made her comic book debut in New X-Men number 126, created by Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely. In the comics, Tattoo is a mutant. In the movie, Tattoo is pretty much just in name only, clearly. I'm kind of on the fence with Tattoo. It's like the idea of a character with tattoos that can magically come to life and attack. That sounds like a cool idea in concept. Unfortunately, the CG doesn't hold up, and it's really awkward in execution. At least in my opinion. And I'm so nonchalant about it. Yep. The pool room has tungsten inside, but no smoke because it would wash out all the colors. Yeah, the headquarters were filmed at a San Diego bank. The conference room set for it was built in 2 days. A black belt in Taekwondo gave the sound effects creators weapons including sais, a bow staff, and a bamboo training swords to create the sounds of the weapons. Dishonor upon you, dishonor upon your cow, dishonor. Yeah, okay, that's kind of funny. Oh, that hawk's got his eye on him. Should have shot the bird. Now, Rob Bauman worked closely with an artist who developed the look of each tattoo character: a hawk, a tiger, a wolf, a spider, and a snake. They were designed to look icky. You look like you changed a... Look like you've seen a ghost. In fact, I shall now call you Mini-Me. Salad tongs. Why do people think sais are salad tongs? That's so dumb. Marvel published a comic book adaptation of the movie, written by Sean McKeever and drawn by Mike Perkins, as well as a prequel titled On the Rise, written by Justin Gray and Jimmy Palmiotti, and drawn by Rick Leonardi. Crisscross applesauce. During filming with Terrence Stamp for The Scuffle, Terrence would stick his hand out to Garner and she would have to move her head to where his hand was supposed to hit her, and both ended up with a couple of gouges to the face. Which is how she returned. Elektra the movie was heavily inspired by Greg Rucka's Wolverine Elektra Redeemer comic books, including a relationship between Elektra and a young girl. The Redeemer with Elektra and Wolverine is a graphic novel trilogy that was also illustrated by Yoshitaka Amano. And it was published in 2002. Oh, these two are having fun. Now, Elektra and Wolverine the Redeemer is canon with Earth 616 continuity as implied in the classic Marvel figurine collection number 17, and events took place soon after Elektra's first resurrection. Tuquilas! Now, the illustrator of Elektra and Wolverine the Redeemer, Yoshitaka Amano, is also known for his commissioned illustrations for the popular video game franchise Final Fantasy. Oof. That kiss is awkward. Makes me miss Ben Affleck. I'm not sure if that's the actor saying that or the character saying that. Either way, I agree. Duck. Yeah, spying. My Elektra senses are tingling. They're here. I think it's kind of cool knowing that the composer of this film, Christoph Beck, who's also composed for Buffy the Vampire Slayer, would years later work on WandaVision. Oh, missed it by that much. Stone's got a look that says, well, that was just rude. Now, Stone is loosely based on a character with that name, with 3 characters using said name, appearing in X-Men and Daredevil comics. And the one version of Stone is usually an ally to Stick. Now, Kirigi made his comic book debut in Daredevil number 174, also created by Frank Miller. So yeah, a lot of, I think also with the hand. Ugh. I would have loved to have seen how brutal it was. Now, in the comics, Typhoid Mary doesn't really have this whole plague power. And I guess I can talk about what she's like in the comics. Now, Typhoid is based on Marvel villain Typhoid Mary, referencing typhoid fever carrier Mary Mallon, who originated the infamous Typhoid Mary nickname. Typhoid Mary made her comic book debut in Daredevil number 254 in 1988, created by Ann Nocenti and John Romita Jr. In the comics, Typhoid Mary suffers from dissociative identity disorder, has telekinesis and pyrokinesis. And in the comics, Typhoid Mary is currently married to Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin. I didn't know this until I did my research. I'm familiar with Typhoid Mary because of her appearance on Iron Fist, where she was played by Alice Eve, which I think is pretty cool. Yep, run, bitch, run! Elektra is also notable for being the first Marvel movie based on a character who debuted in the comics in the 1980s. Because, most of their other characters were debuted in the 40s or the 60s and the 70s. I mean, Captain America debuted in 1941, and Howard the Duck debuted in, I think, the 1970s. Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, X-Men, Daredevil, and Hulk all debuted in the 1960s. So that's actually pretty cool. Ooh, I mean, yeah, that's definitely an oh shit moment. Now, James Kinnings animated the wolf coming out of Tattoo's belly. It was a bit challenging because there was no real image of wolves coming out of a person's body, and found a look that was somewhat realistic. The visual effects artists looked at a lot of footage with wolves attacking. Timber! Timber! Imagine if it was a cartoon, he'd be as flat as a pancake. Yep, watch out for the wolf. Yeah, sounds like a foreshadowing of what Goran Vishnik would endure in Hellraiser. Oof. I actually don't know the name of this other character, because I think he was created specifically for the movie. Oh, it glowed like Wonder Woman's lasso of truth. Nice shot, Mark. Bad dog. Electra's got a look that says, "The fuck was that?" Or should I say, "The yuck was that?" What a twist. Well, ooh, talk about the kiss of death. In the original script, Elektra encountered 50 ninjas. As the filmmakers saw the set that was built, it was 2 layers of 5 ninjas instead. Talk about a dim knock. What I find interesting is the filmmakers built their own pagodas and podiums. Up, here come all the white ninjas. Now kneel before Zod! Now, despite playing a humorous villain like Stone, his actor, Bob Sapp, had a great sense of humor during production. I mean, I like that there was a bit of camaraderie during the making of the film, even if it wasn't great. Seems like it was more pleasant to make than it was to make Blade Trinity. Kingpin sent me. Now, while filming the wolf scene, the filmmakers were sleeping 4 hours a night. Woof, that definitely sounds unpleasant. Now, Kiriki's actor, Will-Yun Lee, when he came in, he saw a lot of Rob Bauman's X-Files work and 2 other movies, and noticed choices Rob made about his villains, and which made him want to do his, and which made Will want to do the role. Now, for the explosion, for the scene where Elektra climbs the tree, the filmmakers used SD-100s. And the swords were originally very long, but they were trimmed down for looking phallic. And Rob Bauman came up with the idea that the ninjas would come out of the tree. Yeah, originally Tattoo, Typhoid, and Kiriki were on the front lawn. Rob Bauman decided to separate the villains out, with Kiriki only first, then Typhoid and Tattoo. I get that. Honestly, as much as I love Terrence Stamp, I much prefer Scott Glenn's portrayal of Stick in the Daredevil show. There, even I admit that. Oh, Kiriki, I'm sorry. I just realized now that Master Roshi only has 2 scenes in the film. He's never heard from again after that. What's up with that? And of course, staging Abby in the backlight by the water is foreshadowing for the fact that she is the quote-unquote treasure. I wonder if Abby was pretending to think that the sides were salad tongs. I mean, I guess that makes it a bit more forgivable. That's true. Just look at politicians these days. I think OCD is a long-term thing. How? Yeah, OCD is considered a chronic long-term condition, but its severity and the experience of symptoms can vary significantly over time. While symptoms can fluctuate and some individuals may achieve remission, for many, OCD will be a lifelong challenge. Symptoms often worsen under stress and can range from mild to disabling, impacting daily life and requiring consistent management with professional treatment. Yep, she saw that coming. Pinned you again. Now, before Elektra ended up being owned by Fox at the time, Marvel sold the rights of Elektra to New Line Cinema, and Frank Miller was hired to pen a screenplay based on the graphic novel of the same name. Later on, screenwriters Jim McBride and L.M. Kit Carson were hired to write a second script, with Oliver Stone potentially being said director. Of course, the project was canceled after the rights to Elektra were sold to Fox. Now, although Ben Affleck's cameo as Daredevil is cut from the final film, the scene is included on the DVD as a deleted scene. Ah, spider! Spiders! It's spiders melting! Ah! I still have to remember Carrigy was technically hired by Kingpin. Yeah, that mansion certainly looks abandoned, but it certainly looks like it's in good condition. Yeah, everything's so dormant. That's a nice scarf. And now she waits. Certainly hope that floor was comfortable. Definitely didn't look comfortable. I swear there's a frame where I swear her eyes look blue and not green. And this is the second time we see her in that suit. I actually do like the suit. Ah, surprise! Toasty! That's explosive. Clever girl. Excuse me. Pardon me for a moment. Oh no, there are ghosts! Something tells me Jennifer Garner loves those sighs, because apparently she kept them after filming. Which I totally get. I would too. Okay, maybe you might find this funny. While filming the Psy sword fight, Jennifer Garner accidentally got her knuckles sliced up by Will Yun Lee, the guy that played Kerigi. She got her knuckles patched up, and when she and Lee resumed said fight, he subsequently sliced her again in the exact same spot. That's gotta be annoying. Don't celebrate early. Eh? Watch out for Wonder Woman's lasso of truth, or is she technically Wonder Girl? Atomic boom! Hey, lovely! Anticipate, you say? Oh, did you anticipate that? All that for a drop of blood. Whee! So many stairs! Cannonball! Deep! I guess they did a superhero landing. Once again, this CGI is awkward. Even if it does sound like a cool idea in concept. But I feel like I just walked into a PlayStation 3 video game. A rough PlayStation 3. Uh-oh. Hey, she told you to stay close. Oh, there's only so many times you can get rid of them snakes. The real question is, would the tattoo snakes be full of venom? I mean, it seems very unlikely. But it does also kind of make me think of that scene in Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark where Indy ends up in that temple with all those snakes. It makes me think, kind of misses the use of practical effects, you know? Oof. Went out like a bitch. And that's clear ADR dubbing. I can't even see the mouth movement. Uh-oh. That's not good. Do I sense a hint of jealousy? Miss Nachos, I don't feel so good. Yeah, I think this is where Garner accidentally got her knuckles sliced by mistake. Oof. Not the wind. Oh, that should have paralyzed her. There's no way anyone would be able to walk that off. Could you imagine if this climactic scene was used with, like a prayer? That'd be something. Should have been more anticipating. Have a nice trip. See you next fall. That's a good throw. Okay, yeah, it's also pretty funny. Now, Kevin Stitt's favorite death scene is typhoids. The filmmakers took off 3 frames from the impact and it softened the punch of it. The director wished the scene was more violent, and I do agree, it should have been more violent. But, it's also pretty funny, all things considered. And it's also pretty creative as well. With all the hedge mazes and all that, it's well done. It is a good death. And this is where Elektra does the healing process that Stick did. Perfect. Not sure if that's Goran Viznik saying that or the character himself. Oh, that's nice. No, no, you won't, because then the TVA will knock on the door and suddenly Elektra will find herself in the void, on the run from Cassandra Nova. Originally, there would have been a flashback in the very end that happens where young Elektra steals Sais and buries them by the well 20 years ago. Elektra would have returned to get her Sais back from the well. Now, of course, Elektra would be the last time in which a Daredevil related movie would be made by Fox. They, of course, tried several other times to do a sequel to Ben Affleck's Daredevil. Of course, they wanted to in October 2004, Affleck stated he would only return in the lead role if Fox would renegotiate to tell the darker stories of Daredevil, and showed interest in the Guardian Devil graphic novel, as well as the Born Again storyline. In 2006, though, Affleck would never reprise the role, having felt pretty much ridiculed with the role and how it didn't do him any favors. And after that, Fox would try again with. I mean, Mark Steven Johnson, who directed the first film, showed interest in directing the Born Again storyline, as well as suggesting Mr. Fear as a possible villain. And as the director liked the concept of the man without fear taking on a villain who embodies fear itself. In 2008, Jason Statham expressed interest in appearing as a Daredevil in the future. And even Frank Miller thought that Jason Statham would have made a good Daredevil. I agree. In 2008, Fox considered rebooting Daredevil. He felt that the reboot needed a visionary at the level that Christopher Nolan was. It needs someone, a director, honestly, who has a genuine vision. And one of the ideas that they had for this reboot was having Daredevil be a hard-boiled 70s style thriller with a hard R rating, not unlike say Dirty Harry. But after that, those plans eventually fell through, and the rights to Daredevil reverted back to Marvel Studios and the Walt Disney Company. And after that, we would get the Netflix reboot starring Charlie Cox, which I think worked out for the better, in my opinion. If you want and that was Elektra. If you want my opinion about the film, yeah, it's definitely not as great as the first Daredevil movie, but it's not as terrible as, say, Morbius or Madam Web, but it's certainly as dull as Blade Trinity, but at least Blade Trinity was rated R. The most frustrating part about Elektra was its PG-13 rating. The PG-13 rating is its biggest undoing. I mean, it deserved... I like the idea of it having fantasy elements, but what frustrates me is that I don't like that these ideas are bogged down with clearly too many cooks in the kitchen, and once again, the inability to be an R-rated martial arts movie. I think Elektra could have benefited from having an R rating. But, I mean, it's not terrible. I mean, I guess Goran Visnik is not great here, but it's not his fault. It's definitely the fault of the writing. And pretty much studio interference as well. But Jennifer Garner is definitely not the worst thing about this film. I do think it's sad that this film pretty much was not a great start for the kinds of Marvel films that would have had female leads. I think it didn't help with Black Widow and Captain Marvel. It's bad, but it's not terrible as, say, Madam Web. But, I'm glad to know that Jennifer Garner was able to bounce back as Elektra. I think Deadpool and Wolverine was definitely her redemption story, in a way. I think it was worth seeing her as Elektra in Deadpool and Wolverine. It's not great, it's not my favorite, but you know what? I had fun talking about it. Up next, I will be doing a commentary on Fantastic Four from 2005. I think it's the perfect time to talk about Fantastic Four, with First Steps being released in theaters about over nearly 2 months ago. I think it feels appropriate to talk about that and to celebrate the film's 20th anniversary. But anyway, thanks for listening to Commentary Companions. Be sure to subscribe to my podcast and subscribe to Tony the Happy Nerd on YouTube. But anyway, don't have a good day. Have a great day.